everyone. Welcome back to another episode of OffBeat by OnRec IITR. Today we have with us Mr. Aman Bhandula, who is the CEO and founder of Farmako. He dropped out of IIT Roorkee in the year 2020 from the Department of Geological Technology to work on a startup. Welcome, sir. It is such a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for inviting. Yeah.
How are you, sir? And what have you been doing nowadays?
Right. So I'm good. I'm good, and I'm based in Bangalore, Gurgaon. Sorry, and I'm working on this startup called Farmako, and we are trying to build the simplest way to keep your health records. And recently, we launched a 30-minute medicine delivery in Gurgaon. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So I'm sure that you were here studying at IIT Roorkee. So while you were here,
Right.
you must have explored a lot of different fields. So can you tell us a little bit about the various areas where you were involved?
Yeah. So when I got into college, I was interested in first. I was looking to brand change. So I got into geological technology, which is called GT. Uh, People in IT Roorkee, everybody knows about GDGPD, and they say GDGPD chill hai. So I got into GT, and I wanted to change my branch to mechanical engineering. And so I thought, when I was preparing for JE, I thought mechanical engineering is my passion, and I want to do that thing only. So for a semester, I tried to branch change, but I just tried to branch change, and nothing happened actually. So I got a really bad CGPA, and yeah. So but I was exploring a bunch of stuff. So I think first semester mein what I did was I got connected to a lot of people and I explored a lot of things. So yeah, this was the how can we sum this thing up? Okay, I connected to a lot of people and I tried to join a lot of different groups. So basically, I was in Shitij. Then I joined Nox, which is they try to make Formula One cars or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, racing cars. Yeah. So I got into that, but so later I just left the Nox group. I carried on with the Shitij, and Shitij was the one of the major parts of in IT Roorkee in the campus, and for me. And the second thing was the bunch of people I got connected to. So the friend circle I had, we enjoyed in so many ways. We went to a lot of trips. We did all sort of things one could do. Yeah.
That's great, sir. So then how did you come up with the idea of Farmako?
Yeah. So we never thought we would do a startup.
Hmm.
So even I mean Keshu, Nikhil, and I, or maybe the people who we have 8 people, 7 people in our core team, founding team, and 5 people are 6 people are actually from IT Roorkee. So, and none of these people or none of us thought that we would do a startup or we would join a startup. So I actually used to do machine learning, and up until third year of my college I was into machine learning, and I thought this is the thing I would do for the rest of my life. And I was applying to all of these opportunities, all of these internships in the US. Maybe I can just go abroad and can do a couple of months of internship. But and I was looking into do some research into deep learning. But what happened was I stayed in in the campus for summers. And one summers I used to play squash, and I just while playing squash I injured my shoulder. And so I went to a doctor there in there in the hospital, or the doctor did not ask me about my medical history, and it was something very relevant. So I had an injury in my back a few years ago, and the doctor did not ask about that, or any history at all. So I just told him I also had an injury in my back, and then he changed the prescription. So he wrote me a prescription, and when I told him about the history, he said, just go for the physiotherapy and don't take these medicines. So I used to tell funny stories, and I had that image ki I'm just telling with friends and telling stories. As So I was just telling the story to all of my friends कि अरे ऐसे मैं डॉक्टर के पास गया और उसने देखो ये कि उसने पूछा पहले और एक मेडिसिन दी मुझे और when I told him about this thing, then he changed everything. So I was just telling the story in a fun way. And Keshu and Nikhil, these are two hackers. Like they have this hacking mindset ki let's get to a problem and let's solve it no matter what. कि regulations और ये और वो कुछ नहीं सोचते, मतलब they have this hacker mindset कि let's do it, let's solve the problem. So I was just telling this story to both of them, and they just came back from their internship. So I was having a chapo actually in Azad Bhavan. So in summers only Azad Bhavan canteen used to be open, right? So I was just telling them the story कि ये हुआ, and we got really excited. Like all three of us, we kept on discussing it for like whole night, and we just made a little prototype. Ki, if we had something like this, that would be great. Just imagine, if everybody has their medical history in one place. Uh, I mean, we could do so many things on top of it. Health records are like this super important stuff. If you have your medical history in one place, you as a patient have a lot of control over your health. And as a company also, you can do a lot of things. So health records primarily drive every decision in healthcare. So you get a prescription, you go to the pharmacy, now you go to the lab, right? Whenever you get a lab test done, you get the report from the lab. Now you go again to the doctor and you book an appointment. So health records are very important. So if somehow you can digitize those health records, if you can make a medical history, insurance is I mean, we can just keep on talking, but yeah, there's so many things we can do. So this thing happened, we got really interested, but we never thought कि startup करते हैं, ऐसे नहीं था मतलब. And we used to assume कि in the campus only the people who are cool and people who are from the ECEL, they will be doing something like a startup. And we were very uncool in the campus, or maybe we are still, but yeah. But at that time we were very shy and अपनी चीजों से बस काम रखने वाला, this kind of an image we had, all three of us. So we never thought कि ऐसा कुछ होगा. But we after a year we got all three of us got an internship in Bangalore. और बैंगलोर में ऐसा हुआ कि इंटरेस्टिंगली वी डिड नॉट टॉक टू each other कि कहाँ पे रह रहे हैं या फिर कहाँ पे इंटर्न लगे. But we were staying in this 200-meter radius, all three of us, surprisingly. And I got an internship where I was working with this guy, Shivam Mangla. He is actually an IIT Roorkee alum. And he came back from Facebook, US, and he was doing the startup. And I was the only intern in the startup. So he was like, "Tu bhi hamare saath aake reh le." And he was a very good friend. He's a very good friend with the founders of Razorpay, Harshil and Shashank. So he was living in their house with them, and I got to live there for a couple of months. And that experience, I think, changed the whole thing for me, I think. So I mean, I just got to see how they used to wake up at like 8 9. And I mean, I used to wake up at 9, and they वो उससे पहले 8 o'clock they're out in the office, and they're working 5 days, and for a couple of days in the weekends they are partying hard, and working really hard. So I got to see this like the passion side of people. In the campus we all see I mean, of course there is a there's passion in everybody, and everyone, but outside of the campus I got to see that thing for the first time. And they had this thing ki I love karna hai wala kind of a feeling. So that really intrigued us. Then we came we came back to college, we applied to IC, we got rejected. Then for a whole semester we used to go to these all of these doctors in Roorkee. We used to be out at like 10 a.m. We are meeting with the doctors. उनके appointments के बीच में we are sitting in the lobby of a hospital, Keshu and I, and waiting for the doctor to come out, just talking to them. So somehow we got 30 plus doctors on board with us. And then again we applied to IC. And then we got into YC, and then yeah, there's this big story. Yeah.
There is okay, sir. That was great. Okay, so just like we discussed that you came up with the idea of Farmako. Just in general, also, once someone gets an idea in mind, what are the steps ahead? Like, when do you start hiring, doing customer research, looking for funding, and all these things? If you can guide us through that process.
Right. So when you get an idea, so basically getting an idea is the easiest part. So it's not about the idea, of course. Kyuki, I mean, I can sit here right now and I can think of some idea, and things won't be built that way, right? So if you look at the great startups that we have, if you look at the great products that we have, Uber or maybe Airbnb, so they just did not get the idea, and things became real. So the next step is to test this thing. So we in Farmako also we have this hypothesis where we every idea let's we when we where we think about ki, let's turn every idea into some experiment and get some result out of it, and some solid result out of it that leads to the next part. So basically, let's say we got this idea ki, let's build medical history for India, a health record system for India. But how do you build a health record system? So the first problem that we faced was we don't have digital prescriptions. I mean, doctors were writing handwritten prescriptions. So we thought the first problem for us to solve is to provide them a software where it's called an EMR app, electronic medical record app, where doctors can write digital prescriptions. So the idea is to get the first version of your product out as soon as possible, and test it with some real users. So that should be the hypothesis. But in most cases you can talk to people also. For example, if we get this idea, so the next step should be to go to different types of doctors and ask them, why do you think, Yuki, you've been working in this thing, in this sector for like 20 plus years, why do doctors think we don't have a medical history? What is the pain point here? So what is stopping people to get their health records in one place? So I think that should be the next step. To If you get an idea, just go out there and build an experiment out around that, and the experiment which gets out something, right?
Yeah.
Like out something substantial which leads you to the next step. For example, if we try test out our EMR app, and if we see doctors are very easily writing digital prescriptions, then we can just tap more of these doctors. So that we got 30 doctors from Roorkee. Just imagine, we if we come to Delhi or NCR, there are thousands of doctors we can tap. So the next step for a couple of months, for the next 6 months, can be to onboard these thousands of doctors and to charge money from them to sustain the company also. Yeah.
Okay. So you just mentioned YC, Y Combinator. So there were a lot of questions regarding it. And just to break down the whole process and the knowledge of YC, the first is a very basic question, that what exactly is YC?
Right. So YC is Y Combinator, which is a startup accelerator, and I mean they take around 200 startups in every 6 months, and they have a couple of batches every year, and the process is very straightforward. Like you apply to YC, there are two steps mainly. You first one is the application, and second is the interview round. So in application also, YC is different, and YC is more. Uh, YC is the best startup accelerator. Why people say that is because you get to understand a lot about your own startup when you apply to YC. So they have these very tricky, not tricky, but hard questions that you don't ask yourself, that YC asks you. And you get to understand, okay, this is also we need to figure out as we move forward. And YC, since they are funding more and more of these startups, just imagine if a small group of people are funding 400 plus startups in a year, they get to understand what these 400 plus startups are facing, the problems they are facing. And So they've built the application process and the interview process in that way. So they have a 10-minute interview, and just imagine 10-minute interview, ma'am. If let's say you are working on something, I'm asking you, what are you working on? What are the numbers? So let's say if you try to trick them, if you try to, if you don't have clarity, that will come out in that 10-minute round. And I mean, it's a very psychological thing also. When people like when you rapidly ask somebody some questions, they tend to be more honest about it. So they get the more honest part of the startup out of it from the 10-minute interview. So in that way, there's small elements of it that makes YC a very good. Yeah.
And so, is it a fixed duration program or do they mentor you for a lifetime?
Yeah, they mentor you for a lifetime. If the startup goes well, or even if the startup doesn't go well, they, I think, they guide you to the step, which gives you this insight, where you can, work on something else in the future, but don't repeat the mistake. So, for example, 2 days back, I was having a call with one of our YC partners. So, when you get into YC, they assign you a YC partner, and these YC partners are a group of people who have worked on, big things. So, like, founder of Gmail is Paul Bouquet, is one of the YC partner, and this person built Gmail, and the other person is this guy who built uh, Yahoo Mail. And I was having this call with one of our YC partners, and they just pinpointed what we were doing wrong and where should we improve. And this is one of the things we also knew, but we were just ignoring it. So they just imagine the amount of experience this person has uh, to understand this startup working in India, and just to get the exact thing out of it. So I think in that way, I mean, I personally do have a lot of respect for, yeah, YC.
And so, in YC, what kind of mentorship do they give you? And what would you say are the perks of getting into YC?
Right. So I think the most important thing which we felt was, the connections that they brought us. So there is this platform called Bookface, where like internally, IIT Roorkee also has like a platform, right, where you can search stuff, where you can search about different people, different students, and about courses, or about so many things. Maybe not as functional as they have, but YC also has a portal where you can search different investors who are investing in different companies. You can, let's say we got into some problem, and there are thousands of YC companies who are solving for each other also. So there is this community of people. So whenever I get into some problem, whenever Farmako gets into some problem, we just go there and ask the right person the right problem, and it gets resolved very easily. So a couple of days back, our Google Ads account got suspended, and I mean, it got into something, and I needed some help. So I got connected to the Google Ad person who was hiding something in, yeah, the US. So in that way, I think it is more useful. Of course, they fund you with, they used to fund us with $150,000. Now they are funding with $500,000. And yeah, so I think the money is the secondary part, or even the status that people say ki, we're doing this for the name. I think it's the tertiary part. The first part is to get these community of people around you who can, uh, so they build this consciousness in those 3 months. The 3 months is the YC period time. So you have this consciousness where you wake up and you are like, okay, we have to do something in these 3 months. So I think in that way they are very good. Yeah.
Okay. And so, just like you mentioned right now, that your team had applied for YC twice, but you could not get through the
Right.
first time. So, what were your
Right.
learnings from that whole experience? And based on that, when do you think is the right time to apply for YC?
I think the right time to apply for a YC is to apply as soon as possible, as you get something, and if you get to learn this thing, that if you get to learn about the problem, ki ha, this is a problem worth solving, and even if you don't have a prototype, even if you don't have the exact solution, you should apply to YC. Because YC will get to know, even if you get rejected, YC will get to know ki you are here for the first time, and that's how you improved over months. So I think the idea is to apply as soon as possible. And what we learned from applying first time and getting rejected was, uh, we actually did not know anything about our users. So we thought that in campus we used to think that the idea of a startup is to just get the idea and to raise funds to rent an office or something like that, and hire a bunch of people, and things go well. But the hardest part is to after getting an idea, is to build a product, and to get the users and to get the product working, and to iterate over and over again, for months, for years even. So maybe for a couple of years even the product is not working, but you have to keep working on the product, keep understanding what your users uh, are asking you. So if you have that process very sorted, then the things are easier. But for the first time, we did not ask that many people. So we just met with some doctors, and we assumed what we they were asking, and we made a prototype which was like uh, a 10-year long thing, कि ये भी होगा, ये भी होगा, ये भी होगा. But the idea is to just solve a like the first single problem, and yeah, to get some real users around it. So we did not know anything about our users, which were doctors. So after getting rejected, we came back and we met with hundreds of doctors, and I think that was the main point. So we did not understand the problem very well the first time, and the second time we knew almost everything about our users. कि हाँ ये क्यों क्या करता है, क्यों करता है, कब उठता है, क्या खाता है, everything. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
great.
So we spoke a lot about YC, but do you think that there are any other good options that one can approach apart from YC?
I think right now there's so many people from IIT Roorkee, or even in general also, people uh, who are investing in startups, new startups. So there are a lot of angel investors who write small checks. So if you are looking for they write small checks, and they also advise you over how should you proceed, and they also have connections. So if you are able to find out a couple of these people initially, I think that would be great. So a lot of people from IIT Roorkee are also doing angel investments, and or even if they are not doing, I think uh, they are ready to help out other people. For example, in our case, Sambhav was Sambhav was someone who helped us a lot, and even Shashank from Izape. So they both went through our application, YC application, both the times, and they were really helpful, making us understand what we were doing wrong. So I think it was Sambhav and Shashank for me, and then I got connected to random people from who were YC alums, and they were also very happy to help us. So I think the idea is to, if you get onto some problem which you are not able to solve, I think the idea is to ask people who have done it before, and get the answer from that.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So now there were a couple of questions regarding startups in general. First thing is that we all know that an important checkpoint for any startup is to have a strong core team. So how
Right.
do you decide that a particular person is best fit for the role?
Right. I think you get a feeling. So one is of course the skill set. So
Yeah.
if let's say I don't know how to write code, and the other person also does not know how to write code, and we are working on something which requires a lot of which requires a product, and a lot of lines of codes, a lot of lines of code, and then there's no point going forward. Yeah, with this set of team. So I think let's say it's a machine learning problem, so you would want to find out someone who is very skillful in machine learning, and who wants to work on this problem, and who you have a very good relationship with. So example, in our case, I knew Keshu and Nikhil, and even our, all of our founding members also, Madhvin, Ankita, Saksham, for a long time, Avinash also. But these were friends from IT Roorkee, and Keshu and Nikhil also I knew for the last 6 7 years now, 6 years now. And so I spent a lot of time with these people. So even if things go south, we know that things will be, things will be intense if whenever product does not go right, whenever things don't go right, you will have discussions, hard discussions with your founders, or with the people who are working you, with the people who are working with you. So I think the idea is to find the people who have a right skill set, have the right skill set, and definitely they should be the people who you know very well, and you would want to work with them. So, even personally, I think I have this thing where I strongly cannot work with people I don't like, even if they are skillful. So I can only work with people who I trust and respect. I think this is the bottom line. And yeah, and then the secondary thing, which comes naturally, is the skill set.
Right.
But
So,
yeah, if you're, I think in the campus, there are a lot of people who are very skillful. For example, out of these 1,000 people you get every year, I think 500 or more than 500 people will be writing code or something like that. And if you are solving a software problem, then you can definitely find someone who is very good in writing code, and also them for like 4 or 5 years.
right.
So I think the best way is to get one of your skillful friend, and start something with them.
Okay. Another question. So, another question is that being Pharmaco's co-founder, how do you divide the roles and the responsibilities amongst all the founders?
Right. So I think we do have a very stable, or like a very balanced team in that way. So Keshu and Nikhil have. So our problem is also very software heavy, if
Right.
you talk about it. And now recently, like the medicine delivery part is something which requires a lot of logistics and management. This thing, any service company will be logistic or management heavy. So uh but right now we have other people, we have other core members who are very good in that. But earlier I was like fine talking to people, asking people what they're looking for, and we used to go to these meetings together, so that everybody in the team is getting to understand what the users are asking. And then coming back also, I mean, you're building the product and you're talking to users. These are the two core things. So I think it's very important to uh, have one person who can talk to people better, or even getting new people in. Also, you have to talk to people, and you have to make them understand. You have to build a trust, so that they can come and work in your company for a long term. So I think I was fine with that. And Keshu and Nikhil are very good in in terms of building a product, and writing code, and having different skill set, even learning different skill sets when it comes to, yeah. So I think we do have a very balanced team, but I think the idea is to divide it into two parts: who will be talking to your users, who will be talking to investors, or these kind of things. But who will be selling the product, who will be building the product. And and there is no thin line. I mean, there is no line actually. So
Hmm.
you're building the product also, and they are also talking to people. Yeah. So I think it's that way very balanced.
And the next question is that how do you get all this knowledge about running startups from? As in, do you read any books or are there any people whom you follow?
Right. So I think there are a lot of people I personally follow, who are from YC. And now there are people who are, people who were are in, people who were in our batch of YC when we were, going through the YC at the same time. And so it was, we were very young. Like I was 21, 22, and most of the people were like 25 or 30 or 35, and these are the people who are coming out of Google or Facebook or Harvard, Stanford, and so we got this community of people. And now in India also, we are connected to a lot of people who are even IIT Roorkee alums. I mentioned Sambhav, I mentioned Shashank from the Rizabwe, and there's this whole set of people who are uh, who are very accessible in that way, who you can talk to and get the knowledge from. For example, I recently needed help in hiring, so I just scheduled a call with one of these people, and yeah, the thing got sorted. Then we needed some help with funding, and then again I scheduled a call, and yeah, this thing got sorted. In terms of books, I used to read a lot of books in the campus. Read a lot, but recently I'm not reading that much. But I follow Paul Graham's essays. So Paul Graham is the founder of Y Combinator, and he's this amazing person. And one thing I like primarily follow is Paul Graham's or Sam Altman's essays. These are people who closely work with YC companies here.
Right. Okay. So another thing is that we all know that there's fierce competition in the market, and it is very
Right.
important to keep your product unique and relatable. So how do
Right.
you ensure that Farmako always stays ahead of the competition?
Right. I think it comes. Uh, so when you talk to the people, I think there are a lot of people. There are a lot of problems in the market. Whenever in whatever sector you talk, you just let's say in healthcare. So I mean, we launched 30-minute delivery. So it's something which we did not think in our office, and we launched. So this is something that came out of our existing users. So basically, all of the Farmaco users, hundreds and thousands of users, they get records from Farmako on WhatsApp or on the app on a monthly basis. And these people started asking us only that do you guys also deliver medicines? So we were like, no, we don't. No, we don't. So now it is up to you for how many times you can say no, because they do have a problem. That's why they are asking, right? And so we launched this feature where people can book lab tests there. And I told you health records drive every decision. So if you get a prescription now, the next step is to book a lab test, right? So they themselves started asking us, can you book a lab test for me? And we were like, yeah, we can. So we do have a lot of labs who can, right, do testing for us. So in that way, we do. I mean, it's very naturally we get the problems. And then you I mean, about the competition, you look at the market and you see why something like Apollo, or why something like 1mg or PharmEasy could not solve this. And if you talk to their users, if you look at their ecosystem, you get to understand like very small things which they missed out, and which you can take leverage of, and yeah, you can improve on.
So, sir, what according to you is the worst and the best part about being the founder of a startup?
I think the best part about doing a startup is you get to work with a lot of great people. And you get to work in an atmosphere uh, where there are less rules, so you can work more freely on things. And if you get less or lesser number of rules than like big companies, where you have to dress up, and where you have to come in shoes, I think you will feel like yeah, not free. So I think the best part for me is to at least work very freely on the problem that we want to work with, and we get people in also who are like that. They want to work very freely on problems. Yeah, and the worst part is, I think there is no uh, other life that we have. I personally don't have. So I mean, it's all the time. Like we do run our 24-hour service. So you get calls 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Like every hour you get a call, and yeah, you have to answer. If you don't answer, yeah, something like that. So it's the worst part in that way. I mean, if this keeps going for a long run, uh not possible. But yeah, I think for now this is getting the worst part, yeah, for me.
Yeah, that is quite tough.
Right.
So that just sort of proves that startups do require a lot of sacrifices that go into it. And even you sacrifice your college degree for Pharmaco. So what exactly went through your mind when you made this decision? And also, how did your parents and your friends react to this?
I did the sacrifice we got when we got 1 crore, more than a crore in the bank. So I think it was not a big sacrifice. And so we were set to work on for at least a couple of years the problem that we were looking to solve. And for me it was like I had 3 semesters left. And uh, so we were raising around, and investors was asking us, okay, so are you going back to college, or are you going to work on this problem? And so I think it was about clarity. Ki, yeah, this is something we are looking to do for the next 5-10 years of our life. And for me personally, college added value in terms of connecting with people, and the atmosphere that college has or had. But during COVID there was nothing like that, and the we were just connected online. And I thought it's not adding much value to me. And this was the whole thing. And I think it really set the tone for us in terms of we had people who were joining or looking to join other companies. And I think it set the tone for us in terms of they left everybody left everything, and they just uh, uh, you know uh, got on to work with Pharmaco and solving this problem. So I think that was the thought process. And about the family members also, like my family is very sorted in that way. Like they do, I mean they do mind, and they did mind dropping a degree. But I think after a point they were like, yeah, I think it's much better that you're working on something substantial. And my mother actually is she buys medicine regularly. And she is a chronic patient, and she has a lot of medical history. And she directly gets to see what we are solving on a daily basis. So she is the first user who tries out everything. So she gets to see we are working on something substantial. And so I think in that way they are very open ki, acha, if you want to do something, yeah, do that, yeah, no problems.
That is great. Another important thing is that nowadays most budding entrepreneurs, they think that it is absolutely necessary and really really cool to drop out of college if they want to do something big. So, what would your views be on this?
I would never have, dropped out if there was no COVID. So if the college was open, I would have definitely gone back to college. And actually we tried to go back to college, but the college did not permit us. So we did not get into YC. Even after getting into YC, college was a like a safer place. So we were looking during college also. I mean, during COVID also, we were looking for a safer place where we can all of the team members can come together and work. uh, yeah. But I mean, we had to go to Goa to work. And instead we were looking to go to campus, but the campus did not permit us. So I would have never dropped out, or even thought about dropping out. So dropping out was a tactical thing for us. So I think, yeah. Yeah.
So, lastly, what would be your advice to all the college students who will be watching this and they aspire to become entrepreneurs in their life?
I think try to learn a particular skill. For example, if you are interested in machine learning, just try to ace that thing. Or if you are very good in development, just go out there and do open source, or work in maybe some company where you can freely work on different uh stack. But I think don't try to uh, start a startup or something like that. And whenever you find out a problem, then just you will have like a skill set around which you can work on that problem. But don't try to find out a like don't try to start a startup. Just in the campus, I think people should just enjoy, and they should try to learn a particular skill set they want to. Yeah.
Right. So I guess that brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
sir, for sparing some time and joining us. We're very grateful for all the knowledge and experience that you shared with us today. I'm sure it will be
Right.
helpful for everyone who will be watching this. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much,